We move on to the next chapter where the yajna is performed by sage Rishyasringa and others. King Dasharatha spoke to Vasishtha and Vamadeva about the words of Sanat Kumara which had been repeated to him by Sumantra. The Gurus were only too happy to have Rishyasringa among them during the performance of the yaga. The king, therefore, accompanied by a large army and by his chief ministers and preceptors, began the journey to Anga, and after travelling through forests and several countries, arrived at the city where Romapada lived. Hearing about the coming of the great emperor of Koshala, Romapada hurried out of his city and went to the city gates to welcome Dasharatha with great enthusiasm. The two kings greeted each other with great affection, and together they went to the presence of Rishyasringa. The rishi was glowing like a flame. The king of Koshala fell at his feet and honoured him. Romapada told him about the great friendship which had existed between himself and King Dasharatha. They spent 7 days together happily, and on the 8th day, Dasharatha told his friend, "I have a boon to ask of you. I want you to allow your daughter and her husband, the great rishi, to come to my kingdom for a while. This is to help me achieve something for which I have been praying for the last so many years." He then told Romapada about the yaga which he was planning to perform. Dasharatha now approached Rishyasringa and requested him to preside over the function. "So be it," said the rishi, and went with Dasharatha to Ayodhya. The friends parted after affectionate farewells. Dasharatha sent a host of messengers in advance, asking them to prepare the city for the arrival of the illustrious guests. When the royal entourage arrived in the city, the streets had been decorated with banners and flags and flower garlands, and the entire city had a festive look. When he had brought them to his city, the king felt that he had already achieved the goal for which he was striving. The spring season had now made its appearance. The rivers were filled with pure and sweet waters, and the trees were covered with fresh green leaves. Dasharatha approached the honoured guest Rishyasringa and requested him to undertake the performance of the yaga. The rishi said, "Now that the spring season is here, I feel the time is perfect for the beginning of the yaga. You should instruct the ministers and your servants to collect the materials for the yaga, and you can now send the sacrificial horse for its sojourn round the entire Bharatvarsha." The king listened to him with respectful attention, and he instructed Sumantra to take care of all the details. He sent him first to fetch his guru Vasishtha, accompanied by Vamadeva, Suyajna and the others. They came, the masters of all the Vedas and all the sacred lore. Honouring them and placing them on their seats, the king spoke in his characteristic humble manner. "You know only too well how much I have been pained at the thought that I have no son to continue the mighty line of the Ikshvaku. I have told you about the prophecy that my sorrow will be at an end if I perform the yajna with a great Rishyasringa to preside over it. I now stand humbly in front of you all, asking you to grant me permission to commence the yaga and to bless me." Vasishtha and the others were pleased with the humility of the king, and knowing what a righteous man he was, they were happy that he was about to perform the yajna which would be the crowning glory of his life. Along with Rishyasringa, they began to make all the preparations for the yajna, and they told the king, "We can assure you that the yajna will be performed without any hindrance, and your wishes will certainly be granted." On the northern bank of the Sarayu, the Yajnashala was soon constructed, and the materials necessary for such an elaborate yajna were assembled methodically and very quickly. The seasons passed quickly, and once again spring heralded its approach by the fresh green buds on the branches of the barren trees. The very air seemed to breathe more freely, and there was happiness in the city and in the heart of the king and his queens, since the yajna was due to begin. Dasharatha honoured Vasishtha and the others and spoke to him. "My lord, you have been my preceptor. You've been like a father to me since you were the one to initiate me into the great Gayatri. It is up to you to make this yajna successful and make me happy. Attended by all the kings of Bharatvansha, the yajna was performed without a single fault and the Ashwamedha Yaga was drawing to a close. The king then requested Rishyasringa to help him perform the yaga by name Putrakama, which would grant him the son he desired. The rishi pondered for a moment and then said, "There is a certain rite which is described in detail in Atharva Veda. I happen to know all about it and I will perform it for you." The Putrakama Yajna was begun at an auspicious moment, and the heavenly host assembled in the skies to receive their share of the harvests. If you are enjoying the story, hit the like button and do comment your views.